Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, welcome back to the week after Investors Day. So it's a full week getting ready to start here on Monday, the 6th of March, 2023. And because it's the first big week after Investors Day and all the activities last week, I thought I'd give a pretty wide-ranging flight around the site today, so you'll see quite a bit. A few of the things I want to talk about in the intro so that it'll help put into context what you see in the video. But first, I just want to tell everybody to keep your thoughts and prayers for Ellie from Ellie in Space. She's a friend of mine. She was injured last night and she was having surgery this morning here in Austin. So please, if you follow her and if you know who she is, give her some words of encouragement on her Twitter or her YouTube channel. I know that she would greatly appreciate that. So hopefully she'll make a full and quick recovery. For the flight today, a couple of things that we're going to start seeing is on the southwest side across the highway. You can see more earthwork is being done near where they have that west expansion of the warehouse on wheels and that rapidly diminishing material storage yard. Also on the west side of the highway, a new development is this. They're installing two very large tents in that material staging yard just to the north of where we were just talking about. And this is a very interesting development as there's never been tents on this side of the highway before. So very interesting. Another thing that we'll talk about is here on the south end of the building. You can see that the white stain has now completed the entire south end of the building, including both corner sections, and crews are preparing the west side to continue to extend that white stain to the north along the west side of General Assembly. So a lot of progress going on there as well. Now, another thing that you'll see here up at the battery cathode plant is that they are actively pouring more slabs in the die shop. And this is continuing to pretty much fill in the west and central sections of the entire building. And they're also, as you can see here, painting some of the columns on that side and on the north side of the building as well. They're painting it white. And we've seen this before, and this is usually a high temperature paint or a coating that is used in areas where a lot of high temperature processes could take place. So yet another clue of what's going on here. Another thing I'll show you, or you'll see in the video, is here where they're continuing to do the horizontal drilling to pull that HDPE treated water pipe, and also where they're installing the blue potable water pipes that are serving the battery cathode plant. So a lot of activity with that as well. And another thing I want to show you is here up the electrical switch yard on the north end. Maybe hard to tell by this image, but they're already stringing the high tension wires from those new steel power poles to the A-frame structures now on the electrical switch yard. In addition to that, as you can see here, the drilling operations in that area to put in another large cylindrical rebar cage that you can see into the bore, and then a mount, and then fill it with concrete so they can add the fifth steel power pole as well. So a lot more to see in the video. Like I say, we cover a lot of ground. I flew about 20 miles or about 32 kilometers for today's video. And there's an interesting development on the north end, and I will talk about that in the video. As always, thank you very much for your support and for watching. I hope you have a great week. Take care.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, after the fog cleared, I was able to fly and the conditions were perfect. So we're going to fly a wide-ranging part of the entire site today. We'll start off here west of the highway. You can see how the west expansion of the warehouse on wheels appears today. You can see all of this concrete debris in the middle of the screen getting ready to be broken up and recycled. And we also see some expansion of earthwork on this part of this entire section, and it continues to widen the prepared surface where all the trailers are located, and also where some of the materials and these containers are located as well. And what you can definitely tell is the amount of materials being stored here is very small compared to what we've seen over the last year, and it continues to reduce in size as they use some of these materials and move them to other locations to prepare this for future expansion, potentially for the warehouse on wheels. So let's fly over towards the main factory, and this is a good perspective of how that main entrance looks from this side of the highway. And we'll take up the video once we cross over the highway, and we'll take a look at the action over there next. I'll start here by giving you a view of this landscaped section next to the lift station. See all of the trees that have been delivered for landscaping and the concrete containers. And so we'll see more of these trees placed around Giga-Texas as we get more into spring and they start doing more landscaping. Speaking of which, this landscaped section is getting a new excavation on this southwest corner. And I'm not sure what they are going to be installing, but it definitely looks like it will be crossing over the highway. It may be a fire water loop for a fire hydrant system, but it'll be something I'll continue to monitor. As I pull back, this gives you a good view of how this main entrance looks today with some new grass that's been transplanted, and it's actually really nice to see some green as we are entering into spring here at Giga-Texas as well. Here's a lower altitude view of that west main entrance and how it appears today. And don't see any changes right now, so maybe they will be holding it in this configuration for a while. But it's definitely something that I will monitor. So let's proceed down to the south end and we'll take a look at some new changes today. What we see here are crews from the company Nalca pressure washing and cleaning up the exterior walls in preparation to being able to add that white paint or the stain. And you can also see on this end of the building more of the windows have been covered with plastic. And there's crews on the man lifts here. They're applying more of that white stain. You can see that the test colors that used to be right in this corner have now been covered over, and it looks like they are starting the second coat on the left hand side, and they'll be working over towards the right side. They typically do 2 coats of this stain to get it the proper white color, and pretty much the entire south end and both corners are completed as well. Here's a good close view of the Griffin dewatering system. That's that red pump and that red tank, and you can also see the linear plate shaft is really gotten much deeper than when it started off, and it looks like most of the materials have been used, so this may be the final depth. And this is a good view looking down in to get an idea of just how deep this is. That ladder will give you a pretty good idea of how far that goes into the ground as well. And so we should start seeing some equipment installed at the base of that pit pretty soon. As I pull back, I'll give you a good view of the entire south end. You can see around where the steel corrugated pipes are, they've kind of improved and tidied up the openings, and I think they're waiting to be able to do those connections. And once that's the case, then they can remove the old parts of that underground system, and then they can start doing some construction on this side of the building as well. And there are some other indications that construction's getting ready to start as well, and we'll go through those a little bit later in the video. But as I come back down, I'll show you, you can tell this steel corrugated pipe, it doesn't have that connection yet. You can see the old one going in the direction of that longer excavation, but you can see how that's been tidied up. In the middle of the screen with that darker dirt, this is another area where they'll have to remove some of that old steel corrugated pipe. And here is another section waiting to be connected. Once these are all connected, then the bypass will be operational, and then that will allow them to continue to do some construction. We can also see this section here of the steel corrugated pipe. You can see that trench box to prevent it from collapsing. And also these sections have not been connected yet, so the bypass is not operational. This is a really great sign. You can see these utility trucks. A lot of the workers here today, they are, I believe, getting ready to remove these lower level power lines. You can see those 3 slabs. That'll be where more transformer boxes, those green boxes, are installed. Just before I started the video, I saw those crews over here at these transformer boxes doing some preliminary work, most likely to remove these as well. And this is a good pirouette around to show you the south end, the white stain on the entire width of the building. It's a new blue and white crane, some deliveries with this truck, and some more deliveries off to the left-hand side in this yellow wrapping, and also some more of the robotics assemblers and those aluminum kind of plastic covers. As we move our way back towards the east, you can get a good idea of how this part of the stamping machine structure appears. Also, on the bottom of the screen, you can see more of that steel corrugated pipe for the underground water management system waiting to be connected. And here on this side, you can see that blue wrapped components for the AIDA and other metal forming machines that are being installed in the south end at Stamping 2. So as we climb over the power lines, we can take a look at this temporary parking lot with all of the trailers and how it appears today. As I was doing that, I noticed that there's quite a bit more of these robotic assemblers that have been delivered and are being moved up to the second floor of Body in White. And here's a closer in view of that activity, and it looks like probably at least 10 or maybe 12 more of these very large robotic assemblers that have been delivered. So the number of robotic assembling machines that have been delivered to Giga-Texas has been a great amount, and a lot of them have gone into that section where that temporary platform is located. Now, another thing I noticed here on the clearing on the right-hand side of the screen, and I will turn the drone that way, is not only are they doing some more earthwork and collecting more of the dirt, but you can see a new roadway or access point has been made that goes kind of diagonally towards the northeast over towards the warehouse on wheels. And this is yet another new development, and it allows a second access point to this particular area. So definitely something I will be monitoring over time to see what transpires and why they decided to have that second access point. As we arrive at this smaller parking lot, which is the testing and calibration section, you can also see the small test loop on the bottom of the screen and some of that yellow. And this gives you a good idea of the number of Model Ys that have been produced that are in final preparation before they move over to the new car staging and transportation lot. The supercharger stations here are quite busy, still waiting to see when the rest of the canopies with the solar panels are installed, and hopefully we'll see that soon. Looks like there's some Model Ys getting some preparatory work here with the end-of-line crews on the left-hand side of the screen. And in the middle, we can see this roundabout getting some more landscaping in the dirt sections, and also how this appears with all of the various markings. And some people have noted that on the right-hand side of the screen, it's only a one-way, so it makes it a very interesting roundabout. As I get closer here, you can see this new apron section where the new receiving docks and the load levelers in green have been installed, and also quite a bit of the castings that continue to be stockpiled on this side of the building and working their way towards the south. Here in the east side of the casting machine structure itself, you can see a lot of the racks and how they have been repositioned, many of the castings, and also this section and how it's organized as more of the castings are made and they exit from the building on that east side. I'll bring the drone down here just to give you a closer view of what is going on here. You can see the castings on the left-hand side of the screen. Next to this white truck, you can see some more castings, which I think are going to be recycled. Maybe they failed inspection or they were tests. And you can also see a blue Model Y body without floors, so this is another 4680 variant of the Model Y. More deliveries are taking place here on the north end. You see some of these will look like pipes or beams that are being moved off of that particular truck. You can also see more materials are starting to come back to this section after Investors Day, where this entire area was cleared off. And it looks like some deliveries here from a company called Total Safety. You can also see more materials on this second platform, and then as we get over to the 4680 production section, you can see some boxed equipment, crated, has been moved up onto that taller of the platforms, and just more activity here on this end of the building. So let's get up a little bit higher. We'll turn back to the north and we'll take a look at some of the activity going on up at the electrical switchyard. Starting off here at the temporary electrical switchyard, you can see how it is configured today, and a different angle on the new permanent switchyard with the 2 transformers on the right hand side of the screen, 6 of the eventual 7 A-frames clearly visible, many of the V-top circuit breakers, and something new today that may be a little bit hard to tell, but as I turn the drone around, take a look at these 2 tall metal power poles. You can see high tension wires have now been strung from them down to the first of the A-frames. And this is a big development, as this is the start of applying electrical power to the electrical switchyard. Also on the north end, we can see drilling operations well underway. This is to make a large bore for that cylindrical rebar cage to be put down in. And then nearby one of those 2 power poles, you can see there's actually a circular mount, and then the 5th power pole will be mounted here. And this is significant because this is the power pole that will allow connections to the battery electric storage system, or the Megapack, from the eastern section of the electrical switchyard. But a lot of great progress here. And you can see in this center section where all of these footings are, now the rectangular concrete footings on the left and right have the mounts for the V-top circuit breakers that are stored by the temporary electrical switchyard, and you can see the mounts where the 7th A-frame structure will be located as well. As I continue to move towards the south, I'll give a different perspective from the southeast looking to the northwest along the electrical switchyard, so you can see how this is continuing to make great progress. And soon we should start seeing the electrical connections made and maybe some testing of this electrical switchyard. So great to see. I'm going to move the drone and fly up to the far north, and I'll take a look at some of the big changes that are going along in this large rectangular field. Now, it's been a while since we've seen activity up in this northern part of the site. We can see some of these trucks bringing dirt. Also, it looks like some debris from trees are being stored here until they can bring the industrial mulchers here to take care of all of this. But in addition to the trucks and the dirt being brought here, we also see more materials that have been delivered into this section, and it continues to grow. Now, the interesting thing is that these white truss-like structures on the right-hand side of the screen look like they may be to support a roof, and that might be part of the permit for this North Logistics lot and eventual warehouse that will be built in this particular area. If you look at the top of the screen, you can see just how far away from the factory we are, and also more of the materials that are being stored on this part of the site. So we may hopefully start seeing some construction up here in the next month or two, but it looks like they're definitely making a lot of preparations. As we continue to fly to the northeast over the remains of the sand and gravel mine with those hills and ponds, we see the rental lot for a lot of the equipment continues to be in operation. Some of the concrete slabs have been put down for mud mitigation, and also we can see this curved top tent-like structure where the maintenance is taken care of, and I'll give you a good close view in here so you can get an idea of how this looks right now. And in addition, we'll continue to fly over the concrete sections that were pulled up from the south end of the building and stored here temporarily, and we'll fly over this north clearing where the remains of this hill continue to be removed. You can see the excavator doing more work here, and every once in a while you'll see one of those dump trucks pick up dirt from this area and move it around to different parts of the site. As we continue getting closer to the battery cathode plant, we can see the cell test lab, the smaller steel structure here, some trucks that have recently brought some red bridge cranes, and it looks like some more equipment have been delivered here today. And you can get a good sense of the east side and the materials and the storage containers and some of the workshops that are in place here. I noticed that the fourth level of this particular platform and the large opening has now started its construction. You can see the SACME presses on the bottom, more machinery on the second floor, and then we'll see more on the third and fourth. As I pull back a little bit more, this gives you a good view of some of the materials for platforms, that white and red, and also some more of these platforms with some of the machinery on top of it, partially installed, and also what I believe is a bridge crane getting ready for installation. And it's just interesting to see what the crews are doing with this large red bar type structure. And again, I think it's a bridge crane, but it's something we'll have to monitor and see what it turns out to be. As I turn the drone back toward the building, this is a good view from the southeast looking northwest across the battery cathode plant complex. And as I work across the south end of the building, you can see the die shop on the left and kind of the alley between the two buildings. Now there's a lot of work going on with the ground slab. You can see that large section on the left-hand side of the screen has recently been poured, and most of it has been completed. Some saw cutting as well. You can see here active concrete pours going on, and yet more sections of the ground slab on this portion of the building. That yellow is a moisture barrier and gives you an idea where they are doing the work and rebar preparing for that concrete now. On the right-hand side of the screen, we can see more of these white wrapped equipment, very large items, some pumps and other materials, and how this galvanized steel structure continues to have the pipes, pumps, other equipment, manifolds, and some of that roof decking, now with what it looks to be a scaffolding around the perimeter to make sure it's safe for the workers as well. As I pull back away from that building, I will look back towards the die shop. You get an idea of how the ground slab continues to progress on the left and the right. Also note some of the white painted columns, both on the left-hand side, some of the taller ones, and on the bottoms of these particular columns. And that's usually a fire retardant paint that's used in areas where there could be high temperature operations. We can also see this deep foundation continues to have form and rebar work, and based on its size, we should see more rebar work for about another week, and then we might start seeing some concrete being poured there as well. In the distance, you see the north end of the warehouse on wheels, how it's being used for material staging and how the trailers appear today. And as I turn back towards the west, you can see this workshop at the bottom of the screen. That old house still remains in some of the trenching here with the blue water pipes, and also quite a bit of activity with these black HDPE pipes that have been fuse welded together to make them very long. And you can see that the crews now are actively pulling these long black pipes through the bore underneath the road. And you can also see some of the equipment on this side of the road that is doing some of the work to bring that pipe through. And also that orange device is the actual horizontal drill. Here's more of those blue water pipes, and just showing you where this will eventually connect to the water main. And both that blue water pipes and the black HDPE pipes will bring potable water and also treated water to the battery cathode complex of buildings. So as we approach the North Bridge, we're going to resume the flight across the highway, and I'm going to show you some developments on this side, starting with some of the trucks that are waiting in queue for their time to go pick up more of the Model Ys. This is one of the places where they wait. We can also see quite a bit of the steel materials that have been stored here. Some of them are the light gray, some of them are painted white. We saw some red and also some brown colored steel pipes or steel components as well. And on the right hand side of the screen, you can see more of the concrete parts waiting for future assembly somewhere on the Giga-Texas site. As we pass over these white tanks, I wanted to show you this particular staging location and some of the changes here. At the top of the screen, you can see where we started the video at that south warehouse on wheels expansion, and also the material staging there. Much of those materials, when they are relocated, they move them up to this part of the site, and where they're continuing to use this new location. We also see 2 tents being installed and erected here today. This is the first that I can recall seeing tents on this side of the highway. So this is a major change. I'm not sure what exactly will be stored here or what they're going to be using these tents for, but I did notice them and I wanted to give you a good look at this. So anyway, that's a good look across quite a bit of Giga-Texas's site today. I hope you enjoyed the discussion in the intro, the discussion throughout the video, and all of the various interesting things that we saw today. As always, thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of the week.